According to the report of the Greek Shipping Cooperation Committee together with the Fair Play HIS that was recently published in April 2018, Marshall Islands still maintains the largest position in terms of foreign flags in the Greek market, next to the Greek flag, which is the largest flag in terms of their weight. Marshall Islands still maintains the biggest share in terms of ships, and then the following flags are Liberia, and then it's Malta and Panama, Bahamas, and the other flags are following. We have a very strong office in the Greek market with more than 45 people performing right now, and we offer all kinds of services that a registry can offer in a foreign country. I mean, we register ships, register mortgages, we can issue documents for ships and crew, we offer technical advice, and we're monitoring the quality and safety performance of Greek and non-Greek vessels that sailing in Mediterranean waters.
Well, one recent development that we have is that we've opened an office in Busan, so that makes 28 offices worldwide. So again, we're building up our worldwide coverage and our decentralization model. Like for instance, here in Piraeus, we have 45 people working here because this is our largest market. So we want to localize the registry as much as possible. In addition, I guess one recent development is with LNG. I was just doing traveling with the Theophilus through Asia, and there's a lot of interest in LNG fuels. We have a lot of ex-LNG masters, engineers working for the registry, so we're formalizing our LNG group because of the interest and the expertise that we have. We want to bring that forward to the industry as a flag state. We are the largest LNG fleet in the world in the Marshall Islands flag, so that's important to us. John, do you have anything else you want to add to some of our recent developments?
I think also LNG and LPG are both being seen as alternative fuels for vessel propulsion. So that's also another thing that we are becoming involved in, both in the storage tanks on board the ship for fuel tanks, as well as LNG and LPG as a cargo. So these are all things that you need to have real experts to really understand how it works.
One last thing, we also have an innovation team on the marine safety side. I think Brian should mention a few words about what he's doing with that group.
Yes, we've taken, again, I run the safety department for the registry, and we've taken some of our key safety personnel and are taking them out of normal day-to-day operations to focus on strategic items that we will work with our crews and operators and owners and all our ship owners to help improve performance and safety and quality. I think in a word I would say yes, since that disaster, but the one thing I would like to say is that there's more room for improvement. And one of the things I think we've recognized as a registry is that it's not just about having an ISM certificate on board your ship, it's about real implementation of the ISM code and what's behind that code. So we are focusing on real-time implementation and how we can better assist owners and operators in improving their performance there. Oh, that's an easy one. That's a very good question, but the most important thing is the crew. They're the most important thing for safety on board the ships. And so the best thing for us is how can we better influence the behavior of the crews on board the ships, and how we can assist the owners and operators to have better crews operating on the ships, to have them improve performance, and how can we help them as a registry. So that's one of the most important thing.
I think safety also is it's a state of mind. I mean, that can only come from the top of the company down and from all new entrants into the company. It's very important that they are made aware of a safety culture within the company, and as they progress within that company, that culture of safety stays with the individual. So it's not a box ticking exercise, it really is a state of mind.
Well, I clearly think the the real challenge is ensuring that there's an appropriate balance between safety and environmental protection measures. And the 2020 fuel sulfur cap is a good example of this, where when undertaking a measure to improve environmental performance, that we ensure that there's no consequential negative impact on ship safety or safety to the personnel on board the ships. So one of the things that we're doing to address this obviously has been with working with other industry stakeholders to try and ensure that all of these issues are brought to the forefront so that they're appropriately considered when undertaking decisions on measures like this. Well, first of all, I think when looking at the 2020 sulfur standard, it's our first wish is to ensure that there's a pragmatic approach towards not only implementation but then verification of compliance. This is one of the things we're looking to address in measures that the IMO is working on at the moment. Also, I think what's very important in that regard then as well is that when situations do occur, that there's appropriate communication among all the stakeholders involved, and not just between the ship owners and its flag registry, but also between administrations themselves, port state control authorities as well as flag state authorities.
Just one point I want to make on what Nick said is that we have the strongest and more efficient team than any other major flag in the IMO. We have people from the States, from Europe, Middle East and Far East that are attending the IMO sessions. Either this is MEPC or MSC. And we have a very close relationship with industry. And we try to fill the expectations of our owners and the stakeholders in the industry. And Nick actually worked very closely with some stakeholders lately, and he presented, and the Marshall Islands was the first flag that presented a paper for the low sulfur emissions, the transition period in 2020, and that will be discussed in the next intersessional group in the IMO. So that was an initiative that the Marshall Islands flag took in terms of safety of the ships.
Well, actually, our view on this is that through uniform enforcement and uniform compliance, that's what's needed in order to avoid these distortions. And it mainly relates to the costs associated for compliance. So it associates with the costs for compliance, and ensuring a consistent and effective implementation is what we see as being able to achieve or prevent any sort of distortions.
When you say differently, I think what we're trying to do is keep the same values but improve on how we're actually implementing those values. I think our values of safety and quality and environmental awareness are really unchanging. New things come in, but they're the basic tenets of the industry, and we're constantly looking at new ways to try and improve those.
I think just going back to what I was saying before about our decentralization model, to sustain the future for us, I think we have to continue to hire people worldwide in our offices that have the power and authority to make decisions on behalf of the registry in real time. That's very important for owners and operators, and from a safety standpoint also. The one thing I have to say is I would say one thing in the industry we would change. I would think if we can get away from always looking at the cost, because sometimes it's not just about the money. As Mr. Ramage likes to say, it's a race to the bottom sometimes when we're always looking at costs and how much it costs. But sometimes you have to spend the money, to ensure that you have the right resources to promote safety and certainly environmental protection and security on vessels. So I think the cost consciousness sometimes gets a little bit overblown, and too much focus is on cost and the minimal cost. And it's unfortunately, and shipping is expensive, and you have to sometimes spend a little bit of money. We've learned that on the registry side. We have to invest the resources. You have some thoughts on that?
And just to reiterate what Bill said, it's more a proper allocation of resources to the best effect, and to make sure that you identify the key issues needed to run a ship safely and properly and environmentally safe.
I mean, one thing I would like to see, at least, if not change, is a better cooperation between different bodies in our industry, because shipping world is so huge and sometimes it's fragmented as well. So we need to make sure that everybody is on the same page, so then our guys in the IMO can regulate better and have more efficient regulations for cruise ship owners.
I think the world is becoming a lot more environmentally sensitive, and the shipping industry will be affected as all other industries are. So in the long term, there will be a reduction in sulphur, a reduction in carbon. So ultimately, we may well see in the next 10 to 15 years a complete change in vessel propulsion. Maybe we're seeing the end of an internal combustion engine, who knows? But I think vessel propulsion will change going into the future.
And just to add on to that, I think, to look to the future, you should always look to the past first. And I think one thing about our industry is we're our own worst critics. If you look at what we have done from an environmental standpoint as an industry, we've made huge strides from 20 years ago, 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. So as you look at how the vessels are being run in much more an environmentally friendly fashion already, of course we have to build upon that into the future for a sustainable future, as you said, and John brings up great points. But again, I think we've made, as an industry, great strides, and I think that we should congratulate ourselves on that.